Welcome to the 2020 CWPP update for Volcanoville, California. This is a wildfire simulation video where we'll do some orientation and then zip into the simulations themselves. Topography of the area is best outlined from violet to the low point to red to the high point, and we'll see that again once more before the end. Surrounded by, in the community here of Volcanoville, we have a lot of fire history. We have both small and large. The trailhead in 2016, we have some dating back to the 1960s out there to the north, and then of course the King Fire, very evident to the east. Coming back in, we're going to look at the project specifically. Right now we have the evacuation routes from the 2020 editions. This is to complement the larger projects being done in the area, as you'll see come forward from the Fire Safe Council and the RCD, where we've done some ridgeline treatments in addition to buffers around those evacuation routes. Added in the El Dorado National Forest project slate, and we have quite a bit of work in the area. As we see relative to the fire impacts, these projects are on the right track. We'll take a look. The first simulation we're seeing here is coming off of the power lines. You can see on the right hand that we have a treatment right adjacent to the power lines, which is prohibiting spread. Also on the left, as things move along, definitely in alignment there, moving from with the southwest winds at about 20 miles an hour. The direction of that would be about 210 degrees, more south-southwest. But up here you can see a lot of the Forest Service projects are doing really well to create a really continuous barrier where the trailhead incident occurred in 2016. You can see some of the planned treatments there would have a significant effect at the 40% fuel load, reducing fire spread, but of course there's still available fuel, so we do see that fire move along. Again, where we've got a good ridge top that comes out of the Rubicon drainage there, where there isn't an anchor point necessarily to the west, the fire sneaks around, but again, definitely a little more reduced as far as fire spread come from that side. The southwest alignment is leading towards a much more continuous spread through the town of Volcanoville. And always a reminder here, this is to show there is no suppression action taken. This is simply fuel reduction and showing the advantages that we can provide by having reduced fuel loads to slow the fire in strategic areas so that suppression resources can have an effect, but this is really just for an exercise in evaluation of treatments. So we'll let this run a little bit longer here, but we can definitely see the footprint. While the one on the right is catching up, we can see many points where it was stopped, slowed down, and created advantages for suppression. So we'll be moving on here to the next. Okay, so we've got to start here in the bottom of the Rubicon Canyon. Definitely some alignment here with the east-northeast winds moving up the slope there. It'll be interesting, but take a look and watch how this impacts this large scale project here, where we get reduced spread, but you will see it pixelating through there. So this is to show what 40% loading looks like with a big block like that. But where we do have some significant alignment with both slope as well as winds coming out of the east-northeast there. So again, we're moving through this. We see there's no suppression action taken, and as this fire moves along, it hits these barriers where we have either RCD projects, fire safe projects, or in the heavier green there you'll see the Forest Service projects. We've got a lot of evacuation routes here that we see in pink. Those, the evacuation routes while they can be helpful, they aren't necessarily a barrier. So where we see reduced spread through there, that's great, but that's not necessarily something we're looking to hold a fire as much as create a safer route for folks, as well as provide some support for suppression to be able to have a little more effect. Moving through here, we'll let this run out a little bit longer, but again, where we see the footprints that are about the same size, we also realize that we do have much reduced fire spread in the areas that have had treatment, and where they align, we do create a better better ability for suppression to be able to contain something with a strategic, placement and continuous reduced fuel lines. Okay, we're going to look at another one from the northeast here again. Okay, so we're looking at much more of a northerly wind influence here. Some of the statistics from the September through November range put the alignment a lot in from the north-northeast and slightly over to the north-northwest. But we're just taking pretty much a northeast run here. Winds at about 12 degrees and 25 miles an hour to the north. We did have a fire back in on record about the 1920s that came out of this drainage, so we'll do another run here based on that. With, of course, looking at the fuel reduction done on the right-hand side, right at the ridge line there. While we did bring it down to 40%, we do still see fire moving through. Some staggered movement here as we hit multiple projects, but again, that's a pretty solid alignment with slope and wind. So even getting that little bit of slowdown provides us a real actual strategic advantage for suppression. So may not look like much, but I think there's a little bit of a victory in there. Again, as it's moving through, we get that western push. A lot of this up top here is fairly plateaued, so it's exposed to the wind. We are seeing some movement with some of these projects, slowing things down on the right there as it approaches the power line. But some of the discontinuity wouldn't necessarily provide the barrier that we would want to stop something, but creates a handful of strategic things we can link together, which I think is usually the plan there. But as it pushes along, we're gonna wrap it up with this one. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and again, that we've learned something here. These fuel breaks aren't necessarily to stop a fire, but they are to provide reduced fire spread, flame lengths, and an advantage for suppression. Okay, thanks again.